Ladies and gents, good morning. This morning, this early morning, where we're actually on earlier than usual, and I realized the light in the background might be a little desensitizing. Be right back, 1 second. Haha, maybe that's better. We'll see. So, today I wanted to start in on the idea of armor. Armor being something that I haven't even started to look into yet, and that I really should take care of at some point. The big thing being that armor, um, in most games, it's kind of this weird additive thing where armor um, pushes the total amount of armor up you have on a person, and somehow putting on armor, like putting on gloves or putting on boots, just helps you not get hit in general. Or if you do get hit, it helps you, like, take less damage, even though, like, I just put gloves on and I got stabbed in the chest. It helps. So what I'm going to do is that all characters are going to get body parts to some degree. And we're going to have to figure out how to structure and architecture that. And then once we have body parts in place, we then get to armor those body parts. At least for the player characters, we do. So we have to figure out two parts there. We have to figure out not just the body part to take care of, but we also have to figure out how armor can get applied to a body part. So there's kind of a lot to get done. I don't think we'll be able to get the whole thing done today, or at least in this first hour. But given enough time, I think we'll charge through it all eventually. So, step one, and what I kind of assume to be the easiest part, is that the character class needs body parts, not just so player characters can have parts, but also so that monsters can have parts. When you swing an attack, I'd like to be able to hit a monster and have those parts show up. You hit the monster in the wing, you hit it in the claw, you hit it in the face, just to give a little extra crunch to the combat. Something I wanted to do. So let's get that in. Let's see here. It's not really a primary or derived stat. Kind of something else in general. We're going to use the serialized class. Nope, not serialized field. System.serializable. There we go. I typed that in once before. Early stream? Yes, jalapenos bud. It is an early stream. Had you followed my Twitter, you would know that. I think I announced it yesterday that today would be an early stream, and Mondays might turn into an early stream kind of indefinitely. Mostly because my carpool leaves earlier that day, so I'm kind of stuck. So we have, I'm not sure if I want to have character body part be the full name of it, but for now I'm going to over describe and then we can clean it up later. What does the body part entail? Well, we have the part name for the body part, and then instead of just body part name, we also tend to have, yeah, I guess I'll use a floating point number here. You know what, screw it. We'll use part hit chance as an integer. Wow. Yep, I'm US Pacific Standard Time, although I have to be up because I have a meeting with somebody who is in Italy this morning. So the meeting's in a couple hours and I had to be up in time because, well, they're 9 hours ahead, so that's going to be a little unless I am up in time and awake. This also helps me wake up. That's the other part of it. So let's see, we got body parts. Great. Every character gets to have, I'm going to kind of put this above the spell point. So public character body part array body parts. That's really all I need in order to get this rolling. Now, all the party members are probably going to say that they have no body parts right now, and that's something we need to fix. They should all have Shoot. They should all have body parts. The question is, where did I put the where did I put the item slots that I need to use for this? And are they correct? Okay, head, necklace, torso, ring, left, right, legs, feet. So I'm missing hands, like hand slots, like gloves. Kind of want to have gloves. Gloves feel like they're kind of a big thing for a lot of folks. You're lagging? Okay. Problem being, if I add a new slot, that's going to mess with everything that currently exists. But granted, there's not a lot going on right now, so maybe now would be a good time to do it. That or I could leave out arms, and I could say bracers, or I could do something else that would have a different style to it. Torso, necklace, left, right hand. Do I want hands as their own slot? That is my question of the moment. Because then you could put gauntlets on warriors, and it wouldn't feel quite too weird. Let's see. Right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 armored spots that you can get hit in. And I kind of consider arms part of torso. Otherwise, I think we'd be going overkill at some point. The same way some people consider shoulders their own like armor slot. Kind of happier having I like 5 though. 5 is a good number. 5 is like that point where you start to feel like there's a good saturation here. Yeah. Okay, so hands. There we go. Okay, so hands is now its own slot. That's gonna mess with some stuff. That's definitely gonna break more than a few things. The biggest of which is the fact that our container, our character... Sorry, my mouse is not wanting to respond. Our character window has no space for this, so we need to fix that first, I think, before anything else. So, character window... We need a hand slot. Like, we just don't have one, and we need one. So, inventory page. Let's take, I don't know, there's the left-hand slot. Yeah, sure. Actually, the right-hand slot has space over here. If I just drag it over here, I think for now, I should be fine. And this is the hands slot. It does not work for the right hand, it is hands in general. That's going to get a little... Is that going to get too confusing? I guess I could do shoulders instead. But I don't... It's hard to come up with different sets of shoulder armor. I mean, you've got pauldrons, you've got, like, shoulder pieces that come as parts of armor. But in terms of the armor itself, like, shoulders don't actually tend to be a big thing in most games that I know of. It's like WoW and a couple others think that shoulders should be their own piece of armor. And that's about it. I mean, I guess instead of left and right hand, I could use like primary weapon and secondary weapon. And then I could drag these away from hands and say, no, these are different slots altogether. And then I could make hands their own slot so that you don't have a right hand, left hand, and hands slot. that might be the better way to handle this. Because I'm trying to come up with the best way to clean some of this up. There are definitely parts here that probably want to be handled, and okay, you know what? For now, let's go without hands being a slot. Because I don't want to mess with the possibility of other things breaking, and I haven't even started in on the actual piece yet. So, let's see. Back to our standard character window. I don't think anything had changed there otherwise. The numbers that we changed should be back in place already, so there shouldn't be anything wrong there. I'm just going to swing myself around and back down to the town view for now, at least. Okay, so characters. Characters 1 through 4, currently you have 4 body parts. And I need to adjust my percentages a little bit for this. Oh, also, something I just noticed. These need to be public. Otherwise, Unity can't access them, and that's silly. There we go. Thank you, Unity. I was waiting for that. Okay, so we've got head. And I don't know if I want these capitalized or not. Why not? So, where are my numbers? I had chances for all these lined up. And I need to reshuffle them a little bit so that hands aren't in here. So you have a 20% chance of getting hit in the head. You have body, I guess, for lack of better words, 40% chance of getting it in the body. You have 30% chance of getting it in the legs. And finally, a 10% chance of getting it in the feet. Interesting. It changed the element name to the name of the part that I specified. I've never seen Unity do that before. That's interesting. Okay, well, player characters now have body parts. Great. That one was kind of easy. The harder part is going to be diving in and figuring out how we are going to get them to take hits in certain body parts. Also, we need to add body parts to all of our monsters now that I think about it. So, for example, I actually don't see the right prefabs on the demon boss. Everyone else has the right characters, but not the demon boss. Interesting. Here I'm just going to mimic the information that we already have. So head 20, body 40, legs 30, and finally feet or foot 10, right? 70, 80, 90, yeah, 100. Cool. Did I do feet on all my characters? Because that should be foot. Oddly enough. Foot and leg. Not because I don't think they don't have feet or legs, but because when you take a hit, and I'm using that string and saying where you got hit, I'm not saying you got hit in the legs, you got hit in the leg. It'd be especially catastrophic if a character got hit in both legs somehow with a single attack. And that's something that we're only going to reserve for melee combat, for physical combat. Spells don't care where they hit. A fire spell is going to burn you just as bad as as anything else, regardless of where it hits you, so we're not going to worry about it then. But when you get struck by an arrow, when you get hit by a sword, just to add a little crunch, and it's a little more than flavor for the most part, except where the player characters are involved. So we just have to take care of that there. Legs, leg. I realized I put in legs. Okay, Demon Imp. I'm actually gonna... But see, the funny thing is now we can do something like this, where this guy, he has a big head. So we're gonna say his head, actually, like, 30%. His body, 40. His legs will be the 20, and then his feet will be 10. Right, we can mess with it a little bit for different characters, give them a little flavor, specifically because, oh, bats don't have many parts. You can get them in the wing, and that'll be like 20. You can get them in the body, and that'll be like 70. And you can get them in the tail, and that'll be like 10. Right? It doesn't seem to be adding a ton for the monsters. But for the players, this is where I really want this to shine. So, head, 10? 20? We'll say 20. Body, it's probably where most of it's going to go. And then foot, 20. Put in a fourth just because I like them. Tail, and we'll split feet and tail. Now, what's hilarious is if health points is still a global pool. So you can kill somebody by dealing enough damage to something's tail or hand or toe. But it doesn't really matter because we don't care a ton. This is just here for a little flavor. It's not here for realism. You don't play video games for realism. If I did, Hard Reset would be a terrifying game. Okay, so we've got the data in place and we've got the parts in place. Now we need to actually add the code so that for combat, for melee combat specifically, you have to pick where you hit. It's got to be pretty meaningful. So that's one thing to take care of. If we look at... Oh, I need my combat stuff. Probably my combat actions and my player combat actions are all going to be... And I'm thinking maybe I should stuff all my combat things into a combat folder at some point soon. I just noticed there's a bunch of kind of bits and pieces that are all combat related that I could just kind of huck into that. And it honestly shouldn't be a huge issue. Okay, so... Dodge, hit, miss, glanced, great. So when we go and swing, and we say, I'm going to hit something, we also should roll and say, here's what I'm going to hit. Otherwise, it feels a little weird. So, let's see here. We probably have a body part hit of some kind. And right now, all of them go up to 100. So I'm just going to do that. Random.range between 0 and 100. And that should give us the number that we hit. Let's see here. Just realized the character might need a little helper function that we can access. Where you pass in the integer and we just hand you back the, wow, there's a lot of helpers in this. In fact, character is almost entirely public functions. So we're going to have a get body part function, and we're going to pass in an integer that is our part. I don't know why I did integer. Parts was what I meant to be in. Whatever. So first of all, let's see here. we'd say for I equals 0, I is less than body parts dot length. So we're just going to dig through all the body parts. And we are going to say the number is going to be, let's see, yeah, we'll remove body parts dot chance, the hit chance from it. And then we say if part is less than or equal to 0, that's the part you've hit. So if we just roll a 0, you just get the person in the head every time, or whatever that first block is. So we're just going to return body parts I. Great. We need an error case though. What happens if I don't input the numbers correctly, and we have, something crazy shows up? What I'm thinking of doing here is you get them in the spleen. And the chance of that happening is monstrous. And what that's going to do is, because it's always at the end, interesting. Okay. I guess the other way to do this would be we could use an is empty or doesn't exist call. Or we could just return an empty one. I kind of wanted spleen in there just as a good backup. If something goes wrong, it would just be like, spleen. Yeah, you got him in the spleen. And that would be an oops. But I don't really want to mess with... This error case shouldn't really come up that often. So I'm not even going to worry about it much. So we'll just return a new empty one and just leave it at that. Okay, so we've got body parts. We've got a get body part helper. I'm actually going to switch this into a character body part. And say it's going to be equal to what? We have a victim here already. Who is the person getting stabbed? Target dot get body part. I might not even need the random range 0 to 100 here, but for now, just in case I want to do it multiple times or anything else, I may as well. So, okay, now we know if it's a hit or not. The question is, where do we want to print this? Because we've got kind of a nice layout of our text right now. If we walk into combat, and I actually have to set up the grid so that we can walk into combat immediately, in fact. Let's see here. I'm just gonna do this real quick. So, this is what it looks like, right? We deal damage, it says hit, damage, and that's that. So the question is, where do I want to insert this? Because it has to come in at or below the hit line. And what I think I want to do is I want to say 7 damage to the hand or to the body. When I do the damage count. Now, the only weird thing here is that now that I've done this, all the body parts are going to be capitalized, and I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of that being the case. Let's see here. I just kind of want to see how this 7 damage to body. Miss. Oh, come on, guys. Wow, the bats really don't like the cleric. And also, oh, okay, right, we didn't turn it on for the players yet. Okay, so for now we've just done the cosmetic change for the player stabbing things. We should probably have the monsters be able to do something too. Okay, so part 1, we need a new Boolean. We need new information inside here, where we say, should you consider armor or not? Should we consider it or avoid it? Because for monster attacks are kind of all over the place. A lot of the time, it's actually difficult to tell whether a monster attack is a melee, uses a weapon kind of attack, or a natural or spell kind of attack. And because we have these two categories, we need a Boolean to actually say, this is how this works. Keepsake is suggesting making a grammar library later on would be nice for pluralization and stuff. So more importantly for a game designer, not just a grammar library, but a localization library, so that when I put words in, those will get localized out to whatever language I happen to be playing in. That's kind of an eventuality that is way down the line. So when I say I want to, play the game in French or Spanish or German or, Mandarin, that I can. And that's kind of something that definitely would be a lot further down the line. Now, that's not hard. That's actually one of the easiest things to do, depending on how you do it and what your game requires. But localization is definitely something I want to keep in mind. So that is something that I should consider as I build systems, any system that ties in and uses words somewhere in there. So by default, I think most of the enemy attacks aren't going to consider armor, and we need to turn them on so that they do consider armor, because considering armor also means attacking body parts. So monsters, for example, your attacks, let's see here, we've got a bite should consider armor. We've got a claw should consider armor. Those are your only attacks, great. You have a bite should consider armor. You have a screech does not. Screech is just a spell. It's an AoE spell. No, that should not consider armor. Swipe should. Flail should. Head bash, yes. Swipe, yes. And I don't think the demon boss has anything attached to him, so I'm just going to keep ignoring him for now, because he's kind of a weirdo. I clearly did the work to put the prefab together, and then never did the work to finish putting him together as a character. So he doesn't have the right scripts attached to him, he doesn't have the right behaviors, or logic, or animation tree. I'll fix him later. Okay, so we have the consider armor as a Boolean here. When we hit something or miss something, we should kind of say that. So here's our hit, here's our defense roll. Why don't we do the body part detection here? I say that questioningly, if only because there are multiple places where the body part could get calculated, because we say hit is turned on or off at various points in this. So definitely, yeah, let's go with putting it here. So here's our body part. Hey, Broskeeter and Punk Orange. Glad you guys could join me. Hope that coffee's treating everyone well. Yeah, it is. It's helping. I'm getting there. I'm waking up. Not completely awake yet, but that's fine. So, we use a random range from 0 to 100, once again, to get our body part out of the system. And once we've got our body part, we have to look for the places where the information comes in. So, specifically this damage. If we are to consider armor, then we need to say description text to body part name. So we still are only doing, we're still not doing any non-cosmetic work. This is purely just how does it look, right? Oh, right. Getting into fights doesn't happen if I don't turn up the chance of it happening. And I like the fact that I have wolves, because wolves are going to, all of their attacks are physical, so they're all going to swing and hit body parts. Unless I kill them all first. I mean, that could do it too. Whoops. Interestingly enough, they missed. Defense, guard, the warrior. And miss. I'm just gonna kill them all with the warrior. Whoops. Or my wolves won't hit anybody. There we go. Okay, 3 damage to foot. Nice. Cool. Yep, get that coffee hype. Alright, so now's the part that gets interesting. Now we actually have to have... Uh-oh. What? What's going on here? Oh, okay. Shutting down the game in the middle of combat complains because as it shuts things down, certain coroutines are still running, and that just kind of breaks things. How does hit chance work in this game? Hit chance is a contested roll between the character's hit skill, whatever that might be. If you're wielding a sword, then it's your sword skill. If it's a monster, monsters have a base skill and stat that they use. And it's a contested roll against the victim's defense or dodge. And then we add modifiers based on whether they're dodging, whether they have armor on that part of their body, that kind of thing. So actually, if you get hit, your armor could stave off the hit at the last second. And that's kind of what we have to tack in right now. We've got all this other stuff going on. Now we need to say, by the way, if it's a hit, are we going to reduce damage? And if we do reduce damage down to a certain point, can you have a glancing blow that, say, hits the armor and then just does nothing? I know wizardry, you'd get hit, and every once in a while it would say no penetration. And that would essentially be telling you that they hit, but they didn't deal enough damage to beat the threshold of the armor, which is kind of a similar system to what I want to do here. I don't want to change the fact that the character got hit. I just want to make sure that the character, when they do get hit, that they don't have... They have a chance to not take damage. So we don't have armor on the person yet. That's the only thing, is armor isn't a weapon or an item type yet. So we have to create the item type first. So if we go into our scripts, we're going to create a new script that is going to be an armor item. It's going to look very similar to our weapon item. Whoops, that's consumable. Don't care about consumable. Care about armor. Also, I realized I closed combat actions. I shouldn't have done that. That should stay open. Okay. So, armor item is a type of inventory item. We need the create asset menu stuff attached to this. Trying to think of what else. So the armor has a slot that it fits onto. That's one thing we definitely need to take care of here. That's actually already taken care of now that I think about it in inventory items, so I don't need to add that. Does durability damage on glancing blows? There's no durability right now. I always considered durability interesting, but the problem is its primary function is for games with a large economy or that want to try and limit your gold amount. And I feel like you can limit gold amounts in other ways. And I guess guess I see other uses for it too, right? If a durability hits 0 mid-dungeon, terrifying things are going to happen the moment, you know, your main tank's armor just breaks, right? Or just to have armor break and then nick it instead of being able to go back and repair it. I can see it. Why does your weapon attack types have these values? Because a weapon can have more than one attack type. So a weapon can be swung or thrusted, the same way a fist or someone's body parts can be punched or kicked. I'm going to add more in there once I get more weapon types. But like a polearm you could disarm with, and you could also swing and thrust a polearm. Excuse me. So it's a flag so that we can tell you what types of things this weapon can do. Yep, binary list. It's just a bit field. So let's see here. We definitely, do I have armor skills? I actually don't think I have armor skills. So I don't think I have to worry about armor needed to wear certain sets. I am kind of tempted to have stats necessary for it. And that might be a nice way of saying, hey, by the way, you know, mages should not be wearing this if, you know, it's got a high vitality stat it requires for you to carry it. The other thing would be, I'm not sure, would I ever want a piece of armor to have a knowledge requirement or a resolve or an allure requirement? That's the only thing I'm unsure about right now. To be the most flexible, I definitely could put all the stats in the system and just say, too bad. You need to have these stats, otherwise you just couldn't do it. I'm not really sure I want that to be the case. I'm still designing a lot of this stuff, and I keep going back and forth on this one. For now, I think I'm going to have at least a strength or an endurance test, just so that you have to have certain stats, otherwise you can't do it. That kind of acts like a level cap for us, and it also keeps you from putting on armor that your class is unlikely to have the stats for. So a warrior can wear robes if he wants, it's just kind of silly, versus a bard who has medium strength or endurance stats might be able to handle more, versus a mage whose strength or endurance is garbage. Then they definitely wouldn't be able to wear it, or they would if it was something like robes and didn't have much in the way of requirements. So, Broskeeter, what Nostrum is talking about when he says a binary list is he's talking about flags within an integer. So an integer is a 32-bit number. So you have 32 zeros or ones that make up that number. And what I'm doing is I'm saying each number, each bit inside this 32-bit integer is a flag for something that I can turn on and off. For example, if you look at weapon items, so the first bit is whether or not you can swing the weapon, the second bit is whether you can thrust the weapon, the third is whether you can punch, fourth is whether you can kick, and fifth is whether you can counter with it. They're obviously not all, I'm not using all 32, but I'm using quite a bit, and you can evaluate them to true or false statements. Hopefully that helps with the understanding. But yeah, one single integer can hold 32 different numbers if it's a 32-bit integer. If it's a 64-bit integer, well, we can have 64 different on or off statements. So, how are we going to do this? Well, for now, we're going to have required strength and I'm tempted to maybe use different stats, one from each set. So I would say required strength, or have required knowledge, or have required allure. So you have to be this good looking, or this smart, or this strong to use this armor. That might be the way I handle that. That, or because it's power control and resilience, I could do endurance, resolve, and composure. That would be the other way to do it. It doesn't just design data, it doesn't just conserve data, it also makes it easier to pass more information in one chunk, especially if it's all related information. So the other big place that I use flags right now is all the conditions. You can be dodging, you can be asleep, you can be poisoned, diseased, turned to stone, blind, insane. You can be all these different things all at once, and I want to pass all that information at once. And because this is a 32-bit integer, and I'm only up to 11 different things right now, there's a lot of different ways I can turn this on or off and change the flags inside. It conserves data, yes, but that's not the primary thing. The primary thing is keeping a bunch of relevant information next to each other. So let's not go with strength. Let's actually go with endurance. Let's see, I think it's resolve is the mental version, and no, wait, crap, did I get that wrong? Resolve and composure, yep. Blind insanity sounds terrible. Yeah. No, I mean, imagine a character who's nauseated, blind, and insane, right? Like, that's... oh god, we gotta get this guy fixed, and we have to get him fixed soon, because he's gonna be useless in combat, and even when he isn't useless, he's gonna be trying to stab his own party mates, and that's terrifying. Broskeeter, thank you for following. I do appreciate it. I'm glad you learned about game dev today. I've been slowly learning more and more about the systems inside Unity recently as well, so it's been a fun journey, and I'm glad you guys are here for it. Okay, so we have the requirements for wearing it. We also need more information than that. Let's just put a header here. So there's our requirements. The other thing here is the armor's effectiveness. That's kind of the first thing in here. We have weight and other things, and that's all taken care of by inventory item. We have effectiveness. Essentially, how often will this thing block all, or how much damage will this thing block on any given hit? What else do we get from armor? I'm trying to think of, like, I guess other effects would be the big thing that armor does, right? It's not just an effectiveness. Does it give you a stat boost? Does it, does it make your fire spells twice as likely to happen? Or does it give you, like, interesting effects, like you're now resistant to cold, or this character can't drop below 1 health for 2 turns, or something like that. Special effects, because they're such one-off cases, I have a bad feeling I'm going to have to do a lot of those separately. And I think for now, we're just going to take effectiveness and leave it there. Yeah. I think that's what I'm going to do for now. So, we've now got an armor script that can generate armor items. So if I go into my items folder, and I say create armor item, we'll start with robes, right? We'll need a lot of robe parts, right? Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll keep robes. They're just kind of a torso-based thing. Robes is what they are. What's their icon? Oh, crud. I should have an icon for rogues, and I don't think I do. What's the use of the header? The header tells Unity where to put information inside the editor. So you'll note that where I put requirements and then a couple variables and then stats as another header, and then a variable under that, if you look at how Unity has arrayed the information on the right here, stats is one of the headers, as is requirements, and the variables that fall underneath are well organized, so it kind of keeps us from losing our mind. No rogues? I have rogues. Rogues are in the system. That's what this guy is. He's a raccoon, but he's also a rogue because he's... I don't know. Because that's how it works, alright? I make the game. I tell you how it is. Okay. Let's really quickly dig through the assets that we have because I realize that I may not have the correct... Oh, crap. I also may have nuked the assets a while back. Oops. Do I still have that in my downloads folder? No, I don't. I actually don't see it. That's really unfortunate. Also, oh, game icons. No, that's not right. Crap. I did. I nuked all the icons I thought I had. Ah, boy. Okay. For now, I have that X icon. I'm just going to use that for these, even though that's incredibly silly. You can only have one set of robes in a stack at a time, so that's fine. It goes on the torso, and you'll note that, here I can say torso and left hand, or torso, left hand, and neck. That's kind of the power of those flags. They don't have any required endurance or resolve. Let's put some resolve on this. I don't know. Robes are pretty cheap, right? Like, that's the thing, is pretty much anyone can wear them. And they aren't terribly effective. We'll say it can remove a die worth of damage, right? Not much. Not much at all. And also, while I'm here and staring at my player characters, player 4, or yeah, where's your items? Here's your inventory. Hey buddy, why don't you have some robes? Alright, he's got robes. What else do we need? Well, more armor. Let's see. We probably want something like a shirt isn't the right word. Let's start with leggings, since leggings, not what I meant. Leggings. There's a G there, I promise. I also realized I put a space in the name here, but I don't have spaces in any of the other item names. I'm kind of unsure about having a space in the name for an asset. I'm not a huge fan of doing that, so I'm just going to quickly... There we go. Do that. You can only have one set of leggings. The slots are the legs slot. These require a little bit of probably endurance over anything else. I'm trying to think of just how much, but let's see here. We've got a warrior. We could also say class-based restrictions. We could just do that. We could say, yeah, you have... Oop. That is my ride. Asking if I'm almost ready to go, and yes, ooh, crap, I gotta get going soon. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Leather blouse. Yeah. Hey, that could be a thing. I'd be down. Okay, so, quickly, before I have to take off, Yeah, so I'll put an endurance rating of 5 on the leggings, just so that our rogue can wear it, but our mage can't. And also, I probably should come through and do a class-based restriction system so that your mage can't go running around in leather stuff if you hook him up like that. If you do a ton of endurance on your wizard, which would be kind of weird. Yeah, I'll need to figure that out. Alright guys, well I have to take off. Thank you for joining me so much. If you haven't done as Broskiter Gaming has already done, hit that follow button in the lower left. I would really appreciate the support. I'm working my way towards that 1,000 follower point. We're so close. We're coming up on 900, I think, any second now. I started with 888. As much as I like 888 as a follower count, I would love 1,000. So, thanks again, guys, for joining me so much. Hopefully, I will see you tomorrow. I do a Tuesday through Friday stream at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, as Jalapenos Bud so kindly noted. That is 5 CET. So thank you very much, guys, for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. If anyone's curious how I got to this point, the YouTube channel linked below has most of the videos up until now. It has from start pretty much to this point. I think I'm missing the last couple videos, and I'll try and get those put up today. So thanks again, guys. Have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Happy coding. Later.